Hooray, we are ready. Thank you so much everybody for waiting. Hopefully you got a lovely pastry and some coffee while you were hanging out, getting ready. Everybody watched the Super Bowl last night. Feeling good? Anybody watch the Super Bowl? Nobody watched the Super Bowl last night. There we go. One person from France watched the Super Bowl last night. Congratulations and welcome to the USA. Okay, great. Welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. If you are here for the sustainability, success and sustainability panel, you are in the right spot. I will tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm here first, and then I'll introduce our lovely panelists. We'll do a little introductions, some questions, some discussion, then we have a Q&A. So if you, ooh, my chair is wobbly. If you have a question on your heart about this, please get it ready. We love to take questions. We also only have about an hour total today, so afterwards these lovely humans will be here to answer questions for you. I will as well, but I will be honest, I'm not an expert in this. My name is Kimmay, and I have been in the lingerie industry for 15 years. Thank you. I know I don't look old enough to be so, but it's true. And I started as a bra fitter, and then I eventually worked my way up to being a marketer, TV personality, all those lovely things. And now I work within the industry to help us take steps forward. This industry is so special because we have such a unique opportunity, because most people, especially if you're dealing with basic undergarments, put on this product every single day. So it's such a cool opportunity to be a part of their daily lives and change things on a daily basis in small and big ways, especially when it comes to sustainability. For those of you who don't know, I lived in New York City for 16 lovely years, and I just recently moved to Oklahoma. And like rural, thank you for the wow. Like, I said this in Paris and they were like, Oklahoma where? And I was like, exactly. But for those of you from that area, if you know at all where Woodward is, it's in northwest Oklahoma. It's like 2.5 hours from the closest airport or Target or anything, or lingerie shops. Yes, thank you, Susan. And so I've been learning so much about people's shopping habits in different parts of the country, but also the #1 industry in my new town is oil. The #2 is ranching. And the new up-and-coming one is wind energy. So on my 2.5-hour drive to the airport, I go through cows and windmills and farms and everything like that. And it's so fascinating because in 2013, a CNN article actually went to this small town where I now live, and I mean small town. And apparently 30% of the residents there did not believe in climate change. This is who I'm dealing with, people. But more importantly, there's a miseducation going around. And so I want to be very clear here that, like I said, I'm not an expert in this topic. I felt very called to share on this topic and to facilitate lovely people to talk on it. But guess what? No one up here is an expert either. We are all in this together. We're all learning. There's a lot of misinformation. And these really brave people are up here because they've been taking steps. They're interested in this topic. They want to help everybody take big steps together. And so if you are like, this is brand new to me, you're in the right place. This is just for us to work together to take steps towards sustainability. So thank you all for being here. Oh yes, applause, hooray! Curve Day 2, let's do this. So much better than the Super Bowl, right? Okay, so I'm gonna just go down the line here and introduce our lovely panelists. I also have their information here for you, so if you would like to follow these lovely people or tweet at us or Instagram us or any of those things, you can do so. So first down here is Erika Garcia. Please raise your hand so we know who you are. Hello, Erika. Erika is part of the marketing communications team at Lenzing Fibers, overseeing media and press relations for U.S. brand partnerships and engagement. Erika is also directly involved with the communication for partnering brands and the textile value chains to increase awareness about the Tencel brand, which I'm sure you've all heard of, for apparel and home divisions. Erika was involved in the development and application of the Lenzing e-branding system. The Tencel brand launched in February of 2018 and is consistently working with brand partners to develop their sustainability stories and messaging. Erika has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Hunter College and is currently working on strategic projects in the U.S. market. Please, big curve welcome for Erika.
much. Pleasure to be here.
You can be louder than that too, by the way. I give you full permission. I know it's early. We can do this. Okay, so next is Sonya. Please let everyone know who you are. Thank you. So Sonya Perkins is the owner of Forever Yours Lingerie, voted Best Lingerie Store in Canada 2019 by Best of Intima. Sonya has owned FYL for 25 years this April and is committed to the best brands, selection, bra fittings, and customer experience for her customers. In the last 2 years, Sonya has taken Forever Yours Lingerie down the path of becoming a more sustainable business in terms of waste reduction, recycling, education, and future planning. They have taken the steps to reduce their waste as well as the waste being passed on to customers. FYL has also been a champion of encouraging brands and vendors to reduce or eliminate plastic waste, which you will hear about in a minute. Please help me welcome Sonya. We're getting better with the cheers, I appreciate it. Okay. Next is Bill. Bill, please let us know who you are in case we're not sure who you are in the panel. No judgment. Okay, 25 years ago, Bill Haddad stepped into the role of president of his family's Montreal-based private label lingerie company with a vision to make Montelle the first choice of boutiques and consumers for beautifully made lingerie, sleepwear, and loungewear. Bill took the expertise gained in the company's years of designing, fitting, and manufacturing in a new direction under its own namesake brand. Fast forward 10 years, and the brand is stocked in over 500 boutiques across North America, Europe, and Asia. With this solid foothold, With this solid foothold, Bill moved into phase 2 and acquired upscale sleepwear brand Flirt Intimates, beginning the journey into the branded sleepwear space. He started to look for other brands to partner with synergistically in the view of enabling his boutiques to offer more brands to the same customer over time and one seamless, hassle-free customer service experience. Love that. Today, Miel, Lucime, and Raya collection round out the company's comprehensive offering of 5 beautifully made premium brands. Please welcome Bill. There we go. We have some Bill fans here today. Paid employees. No, I'm kidding. Okay, finally, last but not least, Susan Beischel, correct? I'm saying your name right? Okay, so Susan is right over here to my right, to your left, and she's the designer and entrepreneur founded luxury loungewear brand Skin in 2003. Since then, she has successfully built the company into a global lifestyle brand widely recognized for the use of soft cotton and versatile silhouettes. As a Wisconsin native, the environment in which she grew up gave her roots in nature and an appreciation, I lost my place, I'm sorry. This is the early day for technology. Appreciation for purity. Noticing a void in the sensual and sophisticated dressing market, Susan founded loungewear company Skin. The brand explores materials and silhouettes that feel second to a woman's own skin and spirit. Drawing inspiration from the natural world, the collection appeals to the senses and soft fabrics and refined lines. Beischel's loungewear is an extension of her philosophy, which she has termed the art of sensual living. At the heart of this idea is the notion that people should experience a healthy life through all of the senses, remaining aware of the touch, the aroma, the view, and the feeling that remains from each encounter. Please help me welcome Susan. Okay, now it's time for some questions for these lovely people. And I hope that you were thinking of some of your lovely questions. But before we get into that, I actually want to talk about what sustainability even is, because it's a pretty broad word. So over here it says sustainability is the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level, the quality of not being harmful to the environment, or depleting natural resources and thereby supporting long-term ecological balance. This is just from the dictionary, right? This is just the basic term of what we're talking about today. However, these are the SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, made in partnership with the UN, and there's a lot more on there than just talking about the environment. There's a lot that goes into sustainable efforts, and if you look over here, I believe It's number 13, it's very far from me, is climate action, right? Like, it's just one of many things that are involved in the whole process of sustainability. I think I'm one of those people that has like eco-anxiety. Like, I watch the documentaries or Our Planet and I suddenly feel completely hopeless. Like, what can we possibly do to get ourselves out of this issue or this problem? And in how much time is it going to take? And so this sort of breaks things down into small chunks, but also expands our view of what it is in a bigger sense. But also, again, today we just want to work together to take that one step forward, whatever that step is for you. We're probably going to focus mostly on the environment today, but there's lots of other things that you can think about too. Vogue says the future of fashion is circular, why the 2020s will be about making new clothes out of old clothes. So what the heck is circular fashion? Circular fashion can be defined as clothes, shoes, or accessories that are designed, sourced, produced, and provided with the intention to be used and circulate responsibly and effectively in society for as long as possible in their most valuable form, and hereafter return safely to the biosphere when no longer of human use. These are just some of those buzzwords you're gonna hear a lot. So I just wanna make sure that you even know what they are, because guess what? I did not. Here's something important to consider. This is actually from Lynn College at the Interfiliate Conference last October. These lovely young people gave this great presentation, and this was one of the slides from that presentation. And this is from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is a phenomenal resource if you want to get started there. Yes, it's awesome. So it says that 70% of a garment's environmental impacts are determined during sourcing and design. Like, right there in the front of everything. So let's talk about one of those sourcing companies that we can look to. Erika, this first question is for you. So, there is a lot of talk about circular fashion, or closing the fashion loop, in the fashion cycle. So what does that mean, and how is Lenzing participating in this?
Well, I'm glad you started off with the SDGs, because we're very big on partnerships, which is number 7, and 14, life below water. That's really important to us, not damaging or actually interrupting the water systems.
Amazing.
But, just as I don't think people really have much of a clue about what's really going on in our landfills, and the recycling and waste process is actually very disturbing. But 80 pounds of consumers actually lose about 80 pounds of apparel. They actually, that's what goes into textile waste. If you think about it, 80 pounds a year are actually thrown away. Per consumer. So if you think about it, it's a huge about billions of textiles of waste. So with that in mind, Lenzing, a few years ago, actually, more than 3 years in development, came up with a concept of reusing either white cotton waste from sewing room scraps, or post-consumer. We're not really there with the post-consumer too much, but right now our Refiber technology, it's Tencel with Refiber technology. So what we've done is we've been able to take our Tencel lyocell wood pulp, turn it into the pulp and the fiber with cotton, 100% white cotton scraps, turning that into a pulp. We blend both of the pulps, and then we turn it into a brand new fiber. So we're taking about 30% right now of cotton waste that would have otherwise been thrown in landfills, turning it into a pulp and then turning that into a fiber. So you're pretty much removing that waste altogether. And then most of it is, the concept to the production is actually reduce water and solvent throughout the whole production cycle. So we're really not losing any water or solvent in the water and waste streams, which is really important. That's more of a circular process. And you have to think about it. If there's any byproducts, are you reusing them? Are you reselling them? Whereas there's companies out there that are manufacturing fibers all the time, and you hear about those damaging solvents going into the wastewater, right? So this is a really circular solution to the future. Right now, we've seen a couple of brands doing it, very small scale, everywhere between Levi's has a collection, or intimates brands or home brands that are doing very small scale collections.
So I just want to give a little look here at one of the fabrics from Lenzing, Tencel, which I said maybe you've heard of. This is one of those products that I think is becoming more and more popular. But Erika, I need help here, because it says the fibers at Lenzing are created using wood and pulp and are usually referred to as cellulosic, yep, cellulosic, thank you so much, cellulosic fibers. Can you clue us in briefly, because right, so here I have this lovely graphic.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, well, welcome to science.
Briefly, it's early.
For those of you that are not too familiar with tensile lyocell modal fibers, our wood sourcing is actually FSC and PFC certified. So we only use wood sources that are approved for use within responsible forest and wood sourcing. Nothing from areas that are affected by negative forestry. This is more responsible sourcing of forestry. So at the very top, of course, you see the wood biological origin. That is what both of our lyocell modal is composed of. They are different, actually, wood species. It's just not one species. A lot of people like to narrow down which type of species. We're not really allowed to do that because it comes from actually multiple species: beechwood, birchwood, eucalyptus wood. And then what we do is we take it through a production process. So we are considered a man-made cellulosic fiber instead of just a wood-based fiber. To simplify the process for consumers, we say just wood-based fiber. The cellulosic is very technical and a different terminology.
Yes.
So basically what we do is we take the wood and the pulp, we make sure that it looks very, if you chop up a couple of papers, you see that's kind of like what the pulp looks like. And then we take it through what's called like a spinneret process. So in order to get your fiber extruded, we take it through a spinneret. If you think about a shower head, so you basically take that pulp, you pull it through the spinneret, and it comes out into like little loose pieces of fiber. And then that's the final production process. And then the fiber, we actually work with different brands and mill suppliers and spinners. So the spinners, they usually take different types of the fiber, blend it into different categories for either a brand, whether it's an intimate brand or it could be home, apparel, and so forth. And then basically what we do is we work from supply chain forward, and recently we've been working back. So in 2018, we moved from B2B to B2C and more of a consumer-facing brand, and that's what Tencel is here.
So there's more steps to this process. I want to like continue going on, but you can see like this is there are so many parts of the process where little changes can occur and update, and this is just within the production of the material and the sourcing part of the entire process that eventually gets to something to your store. So thank you for giving us just a taste of how this works. Okay, Susan, my next question is for you, but in a second I want to share just some resources. And actually, if you go to hooray-kimmay.com, which is my website /expo, I have some links to some of these resources for you. This is a lot of companies that do recycling or are just like more sustainable with their fabric practices. This is a great place to start or just get some information. Here's a quote from Kristen Classy Zumo, and her quote says, about 40% of consumers we polled said that to them, sustainability means long-lasting, which if you think about it is a very simple and traditional interpretation of what the word has evolved into. And this is important for the industry as we try to shift away from fast fashion to items that are better quality and last longer, which I feel a lot of you are boutique owners here, right? Really pride yourselves, hopefully, on providing really great quality products that will last longer. One of those might be Skin. Hello, Susan. So Susan, your brand Skin has been creating products since 2003, and a large portion of them are made with organic materials. So from fabrics to your office environment, what are a few of the sustainable steps that your company has taken?
Thank you, great question. And first, I just want to thank everybody for coming. This is a fantastic amount of people that showed up who care. So yes, I really appreciate that. And I just want to support something you said about cellulosic fibers and what that means. Cellulosic fibers are easier to biodegrade and break down. And I have a fun fact. Did you know by the year 2050, the ocean will be filled with more plastic than fish? Isn't that insane? So you ask, what are some of the steps that my company has taken? And I would say one step I took from the very beginning was just questioning, what does clothing do? What is its purpose? And looking at the larger picture. So it starts with the design process for me, and I wanted to create a product that was multi-functioning, as you mentioned, just from Vogue, who said something like that. A product that you could wear for many purposes, and have less. So it started there with, can I wear my slip underneath something, then can I wear it at night to bed, and then can I wear it on the beach over my bathing suit? Can I take my robe and wear it to yoga class? Can I wear it in the winter under my coat to be my cardigan? Can I travel across the world in it? So I created about a 15-piece wardrobe in the beginning that was multi-purpose. And that in sustainability, you have about 3 options: to reuse something, recycle something, or reduce your consumption or waste of something. So that was one of my very first brand values and brand ethos. And the second thing was, everything comes from somewhere and from someone. So another value in the company was to create healthy products that promote a healthy way of living. Yeah. And to me, healthy means many things, from feeling calm and less stressful, to eating non-toxic chemicals, to wearing non-toxic clothing, to thinking in certain ways about possibilities and options, and this topic can be very overwhelming.
Exactly. In fact,
even for me.
Yeah, and in fact, I want to ask you, because you were very transparent with me when we had a conversation, that your company has some sustainable items, and then some that you even admit are not the most sustainable, or don't use the most sustainable fabrics. So how do you find the balance within your company of what you produce that's made with sustainable products, and maybe what's not?
Correct. First of all, balance is a very overrated word. I think that everyone must just do what inside feels right for them. And we all have a moral compass, and we all get up every day with an intention or a purpose for being here. And I think that you do what you can do. And the internet is flooded with information. The internet has made our world more imbalanced, more complicated, more stressful. So you just have to connect inside and decide, what is it that I can do? What am I passionate about? What do I believe in?
Love that.
And you start with one thing. So I loved simplicity, I loved design, I love health, and I created a brand that would address those things and what I could do.
I've got to keep us moving,
Yes.
but I just wanted to point out something here about other brands as well. So Susan is one of the brands. Actually, her booth is right here, so you can go visit her. But also, there are other brands that are taking some steps. And EWBN was shouted out in the Curve magazines. So was Freya for making strides. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anything about these strides. They're taking. I'm happy to learn about them. And then this I took in Paris at the show, and Kalita put a big shout out to themselves, saying legendary quality, ultimate comfort, and sustainable before it was cool. Which I kind of feel like, Susan, it reflects your business as well. Another company is Pretty Polly. They've taken some steps, and they actually sent me like a pair of tights to try out, and I was sort of like, sure, okay, these are basic black tights that are eco-friendly, like whatever. But on their packaging, they were extremely transparent about the steps they're taking and what they can, just like you're saying. And they were saying what makes it sustainable and what makes it not sustainable, which I thought was a really smart way to do this. Flirt is another one. Hello, right on the website. So I want to go down the line and just mention a couple of different brands. So I'm going to start with you, Erika. What are some other lingerie or fashion brands that you think are good role models for us when it comes to, and again, this doesn't mean the brand is doing everything perfectly, but who is taking steps that we can look to see what they're doing?
Okay, for a list of brands, because I have many, go to the Tencel website, go to the Where to Buy page, and you'll find a list of brands, over 50 brands. That's one thing. Number two is MeUndies, Hanky Panky, Beneath for men, and Eberjay, actually based in Miami. Those are just a few.
Great. Sonya, do you have any for us?
Hanky Panky would definitely be one of them. They're doing some great things. Also, Eva Michalik out of Poland, they package naked, meaning that they just have all of their products go into a box. It's wrapped in plastic just to protect the box, and that's it. So not each piece is individually plastic.
We'll talk more about that in a minute. Yes. And Bill, anybody for you?
You know, we're watching carefully what other people are doing. I mean, we definitely are going in the fabric direction and some of the sourcing that we do on raw materials.
Great.
But we don't hear enough about it yet.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find out more.
It's funny, we had some difficult times, like even thinking of examples, right? Because we're like, who is doing this well? But Susan, you had some good ones. Who in the fashion industry?
Stella McCartney is a big leader in the industry. Amara Hoffman, Eileen Fisher.
Eileen Fisher's a big one. Please look at what that company is doing within their fabrics that they're using, but also like the things that they do in their stores and how they work with people. Phenomenal example.
I support something Sonya said about packaging.
Oh, we'll get to that in a minute too. Okay. Yes, absolutely. And then I just want to add in there for like a brand in general that's doing a great job is Patagonia. They're very vocal about it. They do a lot of work within this space.
So recycle.
Yes, and they're, I think,
They repair.
They repair. That's right. That's a really big part of it. In Paris, actually, that was one of our panelists has a very high-end company, Paloma Casil, and she, along with selling you something that's made of high quality, she also says, anytime you want to come have this repaired, bring it to my shop and we'll repair it for free. So obviously that's not scalable for everybody, but it was definitely something that she was doing. Okay, another quote from the lovely Kristen, who, by the way, is on my panel on this similar topic coming up in March at the Under Fashion Club, if you want to come to that. So is Hanky Panky and a couple of other great people. She says, it is necessary for a brand to be sustainable, and about 1/4 of consumers we surveyed, I did not expect this, said that in the near future they expect most fashion brands to practice sustainability. We are seeing brands and retailers across all price points gear up efforts on sustainability. This is going to be an expectation of the consumer. I was flabbergasted when I heard this, but at the same time, I can see why it is so true. So Sonya, your store in Canada, which I think I have a slide of, there it is. And by the way, look, there's a Montelle right there. Just saying. Sonya, your store in Canada offers a great size range of products, and there is so much to consider, which maybe some of you retailers understand this, when you're choosing brands to carry. So when it comes to considering sustainability, how do you choose which brands to stock? And can you share a story of how you've made demands or firm requests with a brand who is not aligned with your standards?
It actually is more difficult than you would think, especially because we are a size inclusive store, so we do all sizes from small to 3X, B to K. Sustainability seems to definitely be more popular in the brands that stock smaller sizes. So really finding sustainable brands that do a full inclusive size range is really difficult. My big thing is if you are willing to learn about it, to work with me, to figure out solutions, then I want to work with you. Because I think together brands and retailers can really make some big changes. So that's one of my big things. Fabrics, obviously, how they ship, if they're willing to change the way that they ship in terms of packaging and that sort of thing. And also really telling your vendors, this is how I want something packaged. And some people will say, we can't do this, or we're working on it, or we're trying to change how our warehouse works. And then there's other brands who will say, you know what, we really value your business. We're going to work with you and try and figure out a solution that works for us, that works for you. I have had brands where I have actually stopped carrying particular categories in their brand because they've gone backwards in how they package. They originally started packaging naked, they started packaging plastic, and I said, I can't support this. And I was very transparent with my customers about that as well. And a lot of times I think you'll find that your customers won't necessarily ask for this, and they won't tell you that it's important, but when you tell them that this is what I've done because it's important to me and it's important to the integrity of my business, they're like, yes, that totally aligns with what I believe in too, because they don't understand the back workings of
They have no idea
how products come into your store. So I think for me, transparency is the biggest thing with vendors as well as with customers.
And I'll give Sonya a really big shout out because she's particularly really transparent in a very great way that educates her consumer on the process, but also like on her brand values and brings them in and says, hey, like this is important to us. She does a great job on social media doing that, I will tell you. You have also made some changes within your store. So in your office and your company culture, I have a whole bunch of slides. You should make a million pictures to prove this basically. And I was like, wow. So we've got composting, we've got just recycling within the office. We also have educating consumers, changing her bags, changing the cards that they share, and really making this a part of the company's marketing policy, but also like authentically putting these steps into place. And then packaging, which Susan, if you want to chime in on this, these are some examples, and Sonya or Susan, you can walk us through some of these pictures here about what we're seeing.
So that picture basically is how one brand comes in shipped. It comes in individually plastic. Any of you retailers know what I'm talking about. It comes in individual plastic bags on individual plastic hangers. And the picture on the other side is what we usually will do is we'll take them out, we'll put them back in there, and we'll send a picture to the company saying, this is really how we would like things packaged. Because number one, you can ship things in one box versus 5. Number two, they're paying for hangers and plastic and somebody to put those things into those plastic bags. And then we're paying someone to take them out of the plastic bags. And I just did my P&L for last year and I spent $6,000 on recycling, which I know that the majority of it doesn't get recycled. A small portion gets recycled, the rest gets landfilled or burned. So I'm literally burning money.
So we're saving the environment, saving money.
Absolutely.
Saving space, honestly. This is great. Do you want to add something, Susan, about packaging?
Just to let people know that there are trade regulations when you're shipping that you have to put your garments inside of these bags. Some things we can't get away from, but the plastic, it was killing me for a long time about this plastic in bags. Even preparing for market, we get all of our samples to get ready for the show, to show you the new season. It comes to us in plastic bags. We take it out, it's immediately in the garbage. We send you things to your stores, it's taken out of the plastic, immediately in the garbage. Can you imagine what those huge stores, what kind of plastic? Just to give you an example, in my company, we have made a commitment by fall 2020 that all of our plastic is recyclable and compostable. That requires buying new bags, new companies, new materials. And the plastic that you're getting now takes 1,000 years to decompose that plastic bag in the ground. The plastic that we will be using and what Sonya is talking about other vendors using will take 2 years or less. And we're also working with companies that make bags out of sugar, that are real natural material. What else about the...
Sorry,
we're a
just to
small
add to your
company.
point, that is that's the bags that were on the previous slide, our consumer bags, our reusable bags. Yes, that one. We actually had reusable bags, and of course they weren't recyclable. Once you're done using them, you throw them out. And so that wasn't good enough for me. And so we sourced and took a long time, and our new bags are completely compostable. They are made out of sugarcane waste, cornstarch. So once you are done using it, you literally throw it in your home compost, and it decomposes.
Just like Susan, you were saying earlier, it's like decide what you can do within your company now and take that step. And you know, you have some different resources than someone else, and you're like, okay, not good enough, want to do even better. And so just knowing the company values, what matters to you, taking those steps one at a time is really, really important.
And when you're talking about what matters to you, when you tell that to people, that oftentimes matters to them.
Absolutely.
And that aligns people with your brand, that makes people want to support your brand. So it's part of marketing, but being authentic about who you are as a business.
Well, that's about sustainability. That's people to people. Products come from somewhere and from some person, right? So when you share, you care, people want to care and share too.
Thank you. So Bill, hello. So your company, which we're seeing some examples of right here, oversees the production of several brands, as we heard, and so you have many logistics to consider. The reason I wanted Montelle up here is because I think, you know, we hear brands that are right from the start very sustainable. It's part of their marketing strategy. They only carry, you know, certain things and so forth and so on. But for the companies who are already in production, who already have a million systems in place, how do they start making changes? And Bill's been very honest with me about the pros and cons, the trials and the triumphs of this. So I'll get back to my actual question. I'm always curious of how companies like yours that already have many systems in place start to update them in order to be more sustainable. So what prompted Montelle to initiate these changes, and what are some changes that you've made?
I think in our office for a long time we've been trying to do things that are a little bit more eco-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I know at
Closer
home,
to your mouth, yes.
I know at home as well with, you know, having a family, we're always doing so many things. We're trying to buy products that have less packaging, we're recycling, we're composting, we're doing all of these things. And then we realize that at work, we're consuming so much more plastic, so much more waste going out there. And that's sort of really just what got the ball rolling with us. Sonya also is a big factor in our push. Was that last
Because
summer?
I have a big mouth and I'm like, I want this.
You basically like shouted out and he responded.
Sure. I mean, very much on the packaging side. And that's, I think, one of the initiatives that we've taken in the last year was to really try and reduce the amount of packaging. There are certain products that for many years we've been shipping naked, and not because of the environment, just because it was just a better way to deliver our products to the stores. And then, so, I mean, we coined the term now, ship naked, and it's definitely Sonya who gave us that term, and I think it's a great term because it just sounds cool, and especially in our industry. But now we're taking steps to try to do that with more of our products that can be individually polybagged. We're trying to do it we're trying to ship without. So it's very much trying to use less and trying to reuse.
And trying is really the key word here, right? So you started within your home life, then your office culture, and then with packaging, and then you're now also doing fabrics and taking steps there too.
We're also looking at the raw material sourcing as well.
Amazing.
If I can just, quickly add to your point that when you want to see something from a vendor, tell them that you want to see that. Because it's one thing for me to say to Bill, you know what, I want you guys to use less packaging. And it's another thing for everybody else to think, I want them to use less packaging too. But if they're only hearing it from one person or two people, it doesn't seem that important. But if they're hearing it from 50, 60, 100, 200 retailers saying, we do not want this, then that is when they go, okay, we clearly need to make some changes.
Yeah.
So even if it doesn't get you anywhere right now, make your needs known to companies, because they do think about that when they continue to get the same request over and over and over.
And we don't get it very often. Sonya is the exception right now. You are
Very vocal exception.
No, but we hope that she becomes the norm.
I agree. I totally agree. I want to talk really quickly about the fabric that we're seeing here in Flirt, which is from a modal made by Lenzing. Hello. I did not plan this. I also didn't plan, but there's a really great resource called Good on You, which is a free app that you can sign up for, and it actually rates brands, and you can look into some of the transparency of brands. If their marketing says they're sustainable, are they really? And I happen to just like go on it last night in preparation for this and saw a whole thing about how sustainable is Montelle, and then right in there was a whole thing about Lenzing, and that is actually what Flirt is using. So I was like, well, that's perfect. So I just took a quick screenshot, and I'll read this to you. It says, how does Montelle impact the environment? And it says, it depends. Lenzing has developed innovative environmental processes for the manufacture of Lenzing Montelle, which are not commercially available to others. These non-toxic technologies have allowed Lenzing to recover up to 95% of Montelle's production materials, minimizing emissions and conserving resources. And I was just like, man, that's some good changes over there. Totally did not even mean to.
No, thanks for finding that. I'm really surprised they actually put that there. I'm going to see if I can find them and work with them a little bit closer. But Lenzing Montelle is usually what our supply chain partners follow our fiber and our yarn. Tencel Montelle is our brand, and then which was recently changed about 2 years ago. So we're still educating consumers about Tencel as a fiber brand. But Lenzing Montelle is only manufactured in Lenzing, Austria, which is really unique. They do have better energy use and water resources in that location. With Montelle, actually there's about 7 byproducts. So those 7 byproducts are sold in the market to various different supply chain partners. That would be sugar. So the sugar that is extruded from the
sugar is coming up a lot in this. I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I told you it's going to be science today, but it's very fun to hear that and to understand what makes our fibers so sustainable is that we're either able to reuse it and sell it in the market, which is really a responsible way of using materials. Right. But 7 byproducts, we sell that in the market, and it's to various supply chain partners everywhere between the sugar to powder that's used in glass. It's quite unique, and we've been #1 in Canopy for a few years now, and that's just one of the resources. And Ellen MacArthur Foundation is a great partner of ours. We've seen an increase in even Canadian brands using Montelle for their intimates. So it's just everything's coming to full circle now, actually.
Thank you. So Bill, let's be really honest though, because it seems there is a lot of worry about making and selling things that are sustainable, and meaning that it's going to be more expensive. Or that it's going to take more time, or it's going to be more effort. So there's an investment involved here. So can you please be honest with us? What has your company found to be true or false about these beliefs, and how would you encourage others to approach the process?
Well, I think as a company, we're still very, very much at the learning stage of all of this. We don't have all the answers. We have very few answers, I find. But just going back to the packaging, I mean, using less packaging, we actually save money. Less time putting goods into bags that get thrown out the minute they hit the store. You know, for sure on the sourcing side, I mean, using brands like, you know, Lenzing Montelle is more expensive than the generic. But we also think you get a much better garment and a lot that you can market behind it and show that you're doing something that's of better quality. And I think with that, you can maintain. And not everything is that much more expensive. There are a lot of good options out there that just take a conscious effort more than they do.
Totally.
I think just to add to that, with Lenzing Montelle, we do have a traceability aspect to our fibers. So each of our fibers have a tracer. So that's what kind of differentiates our Lenzing Montelle from generic Montelle, is that we're able to identify in the fabric our Lenzing Montelle versus a generic Montelle.
Beautiful.
We do have a certification system, and there are supply chain partners that can work with you, whether it's small minimums or larger. You really have to build that relationship. And so in the past, over 30 years, we've been working with supply chain partners to really build that relationship with the larger brands globally. And we found that it's just a matter of time before they get on that bandwagon from going to really large orders to supplying for like Everyday, who does really small quantities. But you build that relationship, you're able to get there. So sustainability is just about taking those small steps, and
one step at a time.
Now it's a new word,
Love it. This is Vienne. She says, as we continue to research for sustainable suppliers and materials, validation can be challenging, particularly for a small independent business. However, We try our best and we do our homework. Thinking about it, admitting to your ignorance, and staying open to a discussion are great first steps. I love this information because, again, it's just so honest that, like, it is challenging and yet it's really worth doing. This is from Kristen again. Simply put, the most sustainable thing a brand can do right now is just make less stuff. Have a tighter assortment available, then they can begin to look into sustainable suppliers and production partners. Maybe not the model for everybody, but certainly an option.
Can I make just a quick point on that?
Sure.
I find that a lot of brands are making multiple colors throughout a season that we can't sell through in a season. And so we actually have started reducing the number of colors in a particular style that we carry because we're finding that we just can't sell through it in the amount of time that season is. And so again, that adds to less waste.
Susan, that actually reminds me of your comment earlier about just like having a really clean assortment of products. So I'm going to come back to you right now. Can you be honest with us? How much do customers really care about sustainable efforts? And is price, fit, or function more important right now? And how do you help them understand?
Yes, customers really do care. And you've been talking about marketing and business, and can it be profitable to have a sustainable company? Does it cost more? In this day and age with the internet and with your stores, you've seen it, it's very challenging. So you can't be everything to everyone. And a business strategy is to have a niche business. And it starts with you. What do you care about? And you attract what you care about and your customers. Actually, before I started my brand, I worked for high-end designer clothing brands, but very minimal in design. And I always found that our customers were such the nicest customers, intelligent people, caring people, because it represented their design aesthetic, represented kind of their value system too. I like things simple. I like relationships. I like one-on-one with people. And so, yes, there are people that care. And it starts with you and the business you build.
I love that. Thank you.
Is there anything else I missed?
No, I think that was great. Thank you so much. Sonya, back over to you though. Let's read this quote from the lovely Lauren. Lauren is a new designer based in the UK. She's just starting out with a brand and she's focusing on sustainability, but she says, I feel sustainability is a trend right now. So everybody's talking about it, but very few people actually know the ins and outs of a sustainable lifestyle. It is weighing up the pros and the cons of what makes the least environmental footprint, and this cannot just be a sweeping judgment. So Sonya, this question for you is, how can shoppers determine which brands or shops are really committed to sustainable practices and not just greenwashing for promotion? Or how can retailers more effectively communicate their steps?
I actually really love that sustainability is a trend right now because
Same.
Even if people aren't doing it for the right reasons as retailers, it gets the conversation started and people start thinking about it. And I think that, again, I always go back to the word transparency. You have to be really transparent about what you believe in and what you're willing to do, and be very honest and open that you don't have all the answers, that not everything you do is sustainable, not every brand we carry is sustainable, but you have to take it in small bite-sized chunks. And for us, it's really about eliminating waste, and then as we do that, we move on to something else. So
one step at a time. We're
Yes.
going to say it 1,000 times today. Thank you. Here's one company, Studio Pia, who has been very transparent about their steps right on the website. Everybody does this in a different way, but if you are taking steps, you can put it on social media, you can put it on your website. She's a designer and she sells, so it's a little bit different for her, but she has right here what makes her sustainable within materials and manufacturing, within marketing, delivery, and then they also have a program for planting trees. She has a whole thing about the materials that they use called Peace Silk. And her products are completely high end, so it's a different situation than some of the other brands that you might carry. But I thought the way that she presents this is so basic, but also really important for people to know. Back to our lovely Lauren here, and she says, ask brands questions. If a brand is not lying or trying to greenwash, then they should be more than willing to tell you all the hard work that they put into saving the planet.
And excited to share it.
Yes, exactly.
Not just telling you because, ooh, somebody asked and what's the right answer, but being enthusiastic about sharing what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Final question over here for Bill. Let's be real here. If one of the steps towards a more sustainable world is less production or less consumption, how can consumerism and capitalism coexist with sustainability? And how can we measure the success of that?
Today we don't really try to measure our success because it's so little that we've done so far, but
Still measure a little success at a time.
they're all small wins. And I think, like you said, there's a lot of stepping stones right now that we're going through and trying to learn. I think in the packaging side, it's an easy success. The less you use, the better you're doing, and the more you're saving ultimately. On the fabric side, again, we're trying to make better products and market a better product. And without really even trying, you're definitely saving, getting away from the fast fashion, which I think is a really big problem out there. So the more we move away from that, I think the better success we have, and that's what we're trying to build our business on.
And I don't think that we ever expect people to stop being consumers. There's definitely a trend about don't buy for a whole year. I don't know if that's necessarily something we can start today, but I do think that we can encourage people to buy more high quality products that will last longer, and then more responsibly made products. I think that's probably one of the biggest keys here. Just a resource here, Queen of Raw. This quote from their press release says that they are bringing $120 billion worth of unused textiles back to life. If we do not make a change by 2025, 2/3 of the entire world's population will face shortages of fresh water from textile production alone. So Queen of Raw has already saved over 1 billion gallons of water while saving businesses millions of dollars with supply chain efficiency. An optimized supply chain is the solution for people, for planet, and for profit. She's really big into how this can actually save money, especially if you reuse materials. There's another longer quote here about this. I don't have time to share with you right now, but it's really, she's really great. This one here is from Jacqueline from Soak. She says, it depends on how you define the bottom line. Our 100% recycled plastic bottles are more expensive than virgin plastic, and they have been for us since 2012. So it's more expensive on our bottom line, but better for our planet, our customers, and our retailers. And it's simply the right thing to do, even if we are ahead of the curve and it's more expensive. Fundamentally, and this is the most important part, it shifts how organizations look at and define the bottom line. We've moved the line to focus on what's important rather than just cash. Profit is important, it's fuel for your business, it's super duper important for you to keep that cash flow coming in, and how can you adjust that to also reflect your other values within your business?
I think companies really need to figure out, whether you're large or small, just look at the sustainability pages, look at what their ethos is, double check what they're doing, what organizations they're probably working with.
Yes.
If you do a quick background check on websites, you'll find that all that deep dive that you're taking is actually for something. Like Marhan has a sustainability page, you go to Patagonia, Eileen Fisher, Allbirds, these are all brands we work with, and they tell such a great story, but they tell really the source of where their materials come from and how to talk about it and what they're doing to invest in those types of programs, really.
And that's going to bring me to how can we give people a resource here so they can take steps themselves. But first I want to read this. The global fashion industry is extremely energy consuming, polluting, and wasteful. Ugh. Despite some modest progress, fashion hasn't yet taken its environmental responsibilities seriously enough. Next year, fashion players need to swap platitudes and promotional noise for meaningful action and regulatory compliance while facing up to consumer demand for transformational change. This is from the State of Fashion from McKinsey & Co. and the Business of Fashion. Final quote here from Brandon. He says, many people in the industry struggle to apply the idea to their business. Even when they have the best intentions, efforts can still come across as greenwashing. The best brands and retailers are taking it step by step rather than making some grand promise for the future. Again, step by step. So, down the line, really quickly, what is one great resource you want to share with these lovely people where they can discover their first step?
our website, Lenzing or Tencel. So Lenzing's a manufacturer and Tencel's our brand. The Canopy Report comes out every year. Textile Exchange, they're a great organization. We've been working with them for over 15 years, and they pretty much set up standards for Okotex and various other supply chain firms.
Great. Sonya.
Watch some really depressing documentaries. And one of them for me has been Plastic Ocean, and the plastic waste that's out there and how detrimental it really is and the scope of it. And then do your own research. And don't believe everything you hear, don't believe everything you read. Really research it and do your homework, because everybody has a different opinion of things.
Thank you. Bill.
Look at companies like Okotex. I mean, trying to find garments that are made with using raw materials that are more sustainable.
Great. Susan, do you have any resources for us?
The MacArthur Foundation, you can go to their website or Google them and find lots of things. And the CFDA, Council of Fashion Designers of America, has a huge network and resource for sustainability and practices.
Perfect. And I already shared with you Good On You, which is a really great app. It's meant for consumers, but also I think for retailers it could be really, really awesome. So I want to give our lovely panelists a big round of applause. This again, we don't think we're going to solve the whole issue here in a 1-hour presentation, but I do want us to take steps, and I hope that you now have some questions for us. Anyone have a question for our lovely panelists? Or a comment or a resource? Yes, Ellen.
My question is for
Wait,
Billy.
don't scream.
My question is for Billy, because I've known him for a long time and what kind of efforts he's making. But how do we do this with bras? Because the bra business is extreme. Classic constructed bras, which is a big mainstay of your business. It's a huge effort because of all the componentry and the wires and the plastics. Things mold to your body. They have to mold to your body. So have you had any chance here to explore that channel? Because I'm personally very interested in that from our perspective.
Well, we're trying to use raw materials that are going to last longer, so you don't have to change your bras often.
That's one way.
And using raw materials that have like Okotex standards that sort of ensure that the sourcing of the raw materials is done in a better way.
And I think also that's the manufacturing part of it is one part of the whole process, right? So even in the way that you're shipping the bras or the way...
Packaging,
yes.
raw materials, there's so many aspects to it. We're trying to do less air shipments and more boat shipments. I mean, we can't get out of producing our garments abroad. I mean, there isn't really much left in Canada or the US in the bra category, which
That's
is
true.
intensive. But there's small things that we can do, and a lot of the things that we're doing are just one step along a long road.
Go ahead, Susan.
I could add to that, Ellen, that even just the perception of what is female beauty is changing, and what does it mean to push it up, push it out, support it. So there are things that are happening in the world with the identity of beauty and shapes and sizes being more front and forward, and comfort, and it doesn't have to be manufactured in just one way anymore, with outwires, with different materials, so there's just lots of options popping up.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
Question?
Thank you everyone for the information today. One of the questions, I'm a retailer, and I want to know who is the best person to talk to in a business, because I've had conversations with sales reps and I get oh yeah, we've heard that before, and I'm not confident it's being brought to the right people. So who do you think is the best person for us to contact, to go to say, look, this is a serious issue, we need to start addressing this? Like the packaging alone, just from a retailer's point of view. So.
Anyone who will listen to you.
The owner.
And sometimes it's starting with your sales rep and working your way up. Not that I always recommend this, but but sometimes it's calling somebody out on social media and saying, this is unacceptable. I did that with one particular company and the owner called me the next morning. Yeah, and basically said we were all freaking out in the office when we saw your post. But that's again going back to, you have to tell people what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and start making those calls, making those changes, and other people that are interested as well start doing that, and it just starts snowballing, and then they go, yeah, we need to make a change.
Sometimes you have to be the ambassador within the company. We work with so many larger corporations and companies that it starts with one ambassador on to the next in various locations. We have an ambassador from the same company that's in LA, and the other one's in Miami, Florida. But you know what? They're working within their teams, whether it's sourcing or production, to say this is the type of fibers we want to work with. This is what we're going to add to our collections for so-and-so years. And honestly, it's just been climbing up and up and up the ladder, and eventually CEOs will get the whiff of it, and they're kind of like, oh, we need to be smarter about our sourcing.
Yes.
We need to condense our supply chain partners, reduce our carbon footprint, and that's exactly how we've been trying to help our customers at least.
Great point.
As soon as I heard Sonya's rant last summer, immediately I set up a call with her and we had a long chat about it.
And I think too, it's really important to put your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
I had one particular brand that I could easily fill that hole with a different brand. And I went to them and I said, if you want to lose X amount of dollars in business this year, then you're gonna continue packaging the way that you package. If you want to keep my business, then we need to make a change. And they did. And so sometimes it's literally putting your money where your mouth is and demanding what you want, because you believe in it.
Be vocal is the lesson there. And also, like, I just really want to encourage retailers to know how much power you have. There's so much of the changes we saw in one of those slides. 70% of the impact is out of your control, right? Like you don't make the product, but yet you can go up the ladder and encourage people to make those changes, just like Sonya did. Sonya has a very vocal way about her. She also has a really great business, so she might have a little bit more power. But we were also talking earlier about companies and retailers banding together to be more vocal together. There is strength in numbers. Any other questions? Yeah.
About creating an organizational approach. Is there an organizational approach to this?
I wish there was. That's actually one thing we were talking about, that our industry as independent lingerie retailers, we need an association where we can band together and say, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, this is what we'll accept, and this is what we won't. Every other industry has that, and we don't. We need it.
And to credential a vendor who's going after this.
Absolutely.
What steps they might be.
This is a great idea, and Sonya and I actually were talking about this yesterday, like over coffee, because we realized that, you know, there's strength in numbers. And when I talked with people about this and having people on panels, this is my second of 3 panels I'm hosting on this topic. One of the things that almost everybody said was like, listen, we're not worried about competition in this because we're all in this together. Like, this is a planet problem. We really do all want to come together and serve our industry and our planet. Yes, go ahead, Susan.
I just wanted to quickly bring up an idea and a topic that we haven't touched on in the internet. And I know the stores here that are attending have seen their businesses change greatly over the last 20 years because of the internet. And we also are selling online, and made a decision about free shipping or not free shipping, free returns or not free returns. And I decided to offer free shipping but not free returns. And will that decrease my sales? Probably. But I wanted to establish a consciousness, and I want a consumer who buys from me that thinks about what she's buying and not just buying 10 pieces. Oh, click, click, fill my cart, ship, and return whatever I don't like, whatever doesn't work, because all of that packaging is going back and forth, all of that transportation, oil, so forth. So
Heads nodding, yes, yeah, it's a great point.
yeah, people say, why don't you give free returns? because I want you to think about what you're buying.
Great point.
I kind of tell our customers the same thing, and I think Lenzing's committed by I think 2030 to reduce CO2 emissions by 50%, and that comes across the board. We do shipping of hang tags, of fiber, and so we're trying to figure out the best way to reduce those CO2 emissions in general.
Perfect. We're over because we started late. Final question. No. So Raphael's telling me now. So then I just want to thank you all for being here so much. Please give our lovely panelists another round of applause. This is a pretty big topic, and again, we're just taking little bite-sized chunks out of it today, but please continue the conversation. You go to this website here, my website here, and there's a bunch of information and links. You can also contact all of these lovely people, and if you have a resource or if you're taking steps, please let me know. I'd love to share that with people. I have another panel coming up. I just want to spread the word. So thank you again. Have a great day.